In the spirit of the holidays, today we're going to look at a variety of different glitches and fun trivia about the winter season in Animal Crossing. There's quite a bit of interesting information in this video, so grab a drink, sit back, and let's dive into this special holiday episode. To start off, let's take a look at a glitch exclusive to the winter season that allows you to escape your town and walk out of bounds on water. First, you need to find a snowball in your town, which only spawn in the winter season from December 25th to February 17th. Once you find one, carefully roll the snowball all the way down to the beach of your town and place it right at the edge of where the sand and grass meet. This can be done anywhere on the beach, but from my experience, it's easiest to do it against the cliff walls to the left or right of your town. Now, take care not to lose the snowball in the water, and once you have it positioned like this, you should drop any item in front of it. From here, you can then run into the snowball head on and attempt to pick up the item at the same time you nudge the snowball. If successful, the snowball should be nudged while you're in the pickup animation, which actually pushes you beyond the collision that normally prevents you from crossing into the ocean. From here, you're free to run around in the ocean, which actually extends quite a far ways out. If you're playing on the English release of Animal Crossing, you can actually walk all the way out to the island since the island is spawned upon your town creation. Normally, you can only get to the island via Kapp'n, but the use of Kapp'n and the island actually requires a Game Boy Advance connected to your console. However, with this glitch, you can actually get to the island without a Game Boy Advance at all. Notably, it is typically always supposed to be summer on the island, but with this glitch, you can actually get to see the island with snow. Despite this, the island villager will still comment on how the island is always in the summer season, even though it's pretty obviously winter. Further, when you first talk to Kapp'n, he typically gives you the option to name the island you visit, which is then permanently stuck to your save file. However, if you use this glitch to get to the island for the first time without ever talking to Kapp'n, then the island villagers will refer to it as Blank Island, since of course there is no name data set for the island. I also tried to use this out of bounds glitch to see what happens if you go out to sea and talk to Gulliver while he's floating in the ocean. But unfortunately, Gulliver doesn't actually spawn in the ocean unless you talk to Kapp'n and are present on his boat ride. The act of talking to Kapp'n and getting on the boat also triggers the season transition to summer, which is why skipping this cutscene will allow the island to retain the current season of winter. But interestingly, this impacts your entire town as well. If we zoom out the camera, you can actually see the season transition to summer during your boat ride. This means if there is a way to glitch off the island and walk back to your own town without Kapp'n rowing us back, then we can actually make our own town summer again in the middle of December. But of course, saving and reloading will reset your town to winter. Finally, it also seems that if you visit the island for the very first time with this glitch, go back to town via Kapp'n, and then return officially with a Game Boy Advance, this will sometimes cause all the houses on the island to disappear. I'm assuming this might be related to the villager and houses being set to Blank Island when you first visit, but then naming the island something else on your official visit causes them not to spawn? I'm not entirely sure, but it could be related to a faulty save file since I could only replicate this process once and I haven't been able to do it since. Anyways, you can explore out of bounds with the snowball glitch, but similar to visiting the beta map, just be careful not to open your in-game map on invalid acres since that will crash the game entirely. Other than that, you're free to roam around as long as you want, and you can simply walk back inbounds to cancel the glitch. Another cool glitch exclusive to winter involves obtaining a normally unused dummy item. During the winter camping season, from January 2nd to February 24th, villagers will set up camp inside of an igloo randomly placed in your town. Talking to igloo campers will result in them offering to play a game with you to obtain exclusive items. In winter, the normal item list obtainable via igloo campers looks like this. But an oversight by the developers actually allowed for item ID 33C4 to be included in this list. This item ID does not reference any real item in the game, and thus a placeholder dummy name and texture are used instead. So, visiting an igloo and playing a game with your villagers will, on rare occasions, cause them to offer you this dummy item. Placing this item in your house looks like this, and the Japanese written on it translates properly to dummy. There is no real harm in keeping this item for yourself, so you're free to save and keep it as a cool and rare souvenir in your house. Another thing exclusive to winter includes the creation of snowmen, which also give the player exclusive items if they're built properly. Typically, building snowmen properly involves rolling a slightly smaller snowball on top of a slightly bigger one, and this is actually how it works in the later games. However, Kyler discovered that the original Animal Crossing internally compares the snowball's size without actually caring which snowball is on top. Thus, a perfect snowman in this game is created by having one snowball be 80 to 90% the size of the other snowball. This means you can actually roll a larger snowball on top of a smaller one, as long as the smaller one is 80 to 90% the size of the larger one. You can also get imperfect snowman by building them outside of the 80 to 90% comparison range. However, if you screw up big time and place a snowball that is less than 60% or more than 110% of the other snowball's size, this will result in an awful snowman. And he'll even tell you that he regrets being born. I'm sorry. Another small event, only possible in winter, is the upkeeping of the lighthouse, which I actually have never done before this video. On a random Saturday in January or February, Tortimer can appear and will mention that he's going on vacation and needs you to turn on the lighthouse every day for a week. Accepting this quest is the only time in the entire game where the lighthouse can actually be entered. And successfully switching on the light every day of the week will result in Tortimer giving you the lighthouse model as a reward. If you paid attention during the start of this quest, Tortimer actually mentions that he's going to a tropical island for a vacation, which actually had me thinking he might be at our own island. But unfortunately, he must be referring to a different island since he does not appear there if you visit yourself. Oh well. Of course, the big event during winter is Toy Day, hosted by the Jolly Black-Nosed Reindeer jingle, which mimics the real-life holiday of Christmas. Interestingly, Toy Day is internally recognized as being on December 23rd, which is the day that Tortimer will give you a present at the Wishing Well. This appears to be a leftover from the Japanese version of Animal Crossing, where December 23rd is sometimes referred to as Christmas Eve Eve. Apparently, this is a real thing in Japan, and younger folks will celebrate Christmas Eve Eve in anticipation of actual Christmas Eve on the 24th. Regardless, Toy Day is officially on the 23rd, or Christmas Eve Eve in Animal Crossing, and the event that Jingle hosts on the 24th just so happens to also be called Toy Day. And of course, the event that Jingle hosts crosses over into the 25th, so I guess there's technically 3 days of Toy Day. In Japan, Toy Day is simply called Christmas since it isn't really celebrated as a religious holiday there. Anyways, speaking to Jingle during Toy Day and answering his prompts will cause him to give you one of various items in the Jingle series. You would typically only be able to receive one item per Toy Day, but if you actually change your clothes and talk to Jingle again, he will mistake you for a different player and give you another item. This sounds like an oversight, but it is very much an intended mechanic. This becomes apparent after your 10th attempt at fooling Jingle, after which he will catch on to you changing clothes, laugh about it, and will stop giving you gifts altogether. Notably, even with this clothes switching mechanic, you cannot obtain every Jingle series item in one Toy Day, meaning you'll have to return next year to get them all as a solo player. And finally, the last event we'll be discussing is of course the New Year's Countdown, taking place on December 31st. While there's nothing too crazy about this by itself, this event becomes much more interesting when you take into account that the original Animal Crossing only goes up to the year 2030. While the GameCube's internal clock can count up to the year 2099 before it rolls over to the year 2000, Animal Crossing actually caps out at the year 2030. So, the question then becomes, what happens if you play on December 31st in the year 2030 and watch the new year roll into 2031? The answer is not much. The villagers still recognize the year as 2031, and writing on the bulletin board will appropriately note the date as January 1st, 2031. But if you ever save and reload your game from here, your year will be set back to 2030. And this means exactly what you think. If you ever try to play the original Animal Crossing legitimately past the year 2030, then you can never be in the same year as you are in real life. Now, of course, due to the way we keep time, there are several years that share the exact same calendar structure with 2030, making it possible to align the dates with real life. But outside of that, you can still never go beyond the year 2030. So if you ever wanted to play this game legitimately, you better be quick about it, because we technically only have about 8 years left to play the original Animal Crossing in real time. And if this channel is still around in 2030, mark your calendars, because you can bet I will live stream a 2031 New Year's countdown in honor of the game. But as we wrap up this year, I want to thank all of you sincerely for the support this channel has gotten. When I started taking this channel seriously in August, my end of year goal was to hit 1,000 subscribers just off the videos I posted for fun, and I never would have thought that I would 20 times that in such a short period. Honestly, the fact that I can create content about a 20-year-old game that thousands of people will actually watch and care about is very heartwarming. Truly, thank you all so much for the support. I hope all of you have a great holiday season and a very happy new year. I would also like to throw some appreciation towards Kyler, who has served as a source for a lot of information in these videos. Further thanks goes to Chubby Bub, Phil, the Nookopedia staff, and the Megasheet contributors for compiling and sharing a lot of information as well. And, as always, thank you to Lunascape, Inferno Wrath, Lorenzo, Cynthia, Tyrant Link, Cower Run, Mentis98, Silly Marina, Cass, Villager, and the rest of my Patreon and YouTube members for their continued support. Again, I hope all of you have a great holiday, and thank you for watching. Until next time.